Welcome, folks, to Rambam. We continue in the first book. We're at the beginning. And in the first book, in chapter 7, you say the Torah, the foundations of the Torah. So this is important now. I mean, it's all important. Chapter 7, halacha number 1. It is one of the foundations of our faith that God communicates by prophecy with man. Very important. In other words, and what's important about that, it's a continuation, right? It wasn't just at Sinai that God spoke with Moses, it was continuous throughout generations. Prophecies bestowed only upon a very wise sage of strong character who is never overcome by his natural inclinations in any regard. Instead, with his mind, he overcomes his natural inclinations at all times, right? Mind having dominion over the heart. He must also possess a broad and correct mental outlook, which means mastery of the mind, not just of behavior, right? Speaking of a righteous person. A person who is full of these qualities and is physically sound is fit for prophecy. When he enters the pardes, which is the depth of Torah teachings, and is drawn into these great and sublime concepts, if he possesses a correct outlook to comprehend and grasp them, he will become holy. Right? Separate concern with spiritual truth and not of the material world, right? Knowing the holiness of God, the Torah, because he's grasped the teachings, because he has a proper outlook, proper mindset. He will advance and separate himself from the masses who proceed in darkness of the time. To separate doesn't mean, necessarily he's separated because he's different than the rest. In other words, the rest of humanity goes after, regular, mundane, material, survival stuff.
Does it include Cloud Israel?
Huh?
Does it also include Cloud Israel?
Yeah. Yeah. He must continue and diligently train himself, not to have any thoughts whatsoever about frivolous things or the vanities and the intrigues of the times. So it's interesting. Right. So, in other words, not even negative thoughts are going to come up, and that's a righteous person, right? Instead, his mind should constantly be directed upward, bound beneath God's throne of glory, striving to comprehend the holy and the pure forms, and gazing at the wisdom of the Holy One, blessed be He, in its entirety, in its manifold manifestations, from the most elevated spiritual form unto the navel of the earth, appreciating his greatness from them. Something that we learned and yesterday and the days before classes when we're speaking about Maise Merkava, Maise Bereshis, the deeds of God's act in creation and the phenomena of creation and how it reflects the divine. After these preparations, the spirit of prophecy will immediately rest upon him. When the spirit rests upon him, his soul becomes intermingled with the angels Kaldishim, and he will be transformed into a different person and will understand with knowledge different from what it was previously. He will rise above the level of other wise men, as the prophet Samuel told Saul, the Spirit of God will descend upon you, and you shall prophesy with them, and you will be transformed into a different person.
But this transformation is not.
Huh?
This transformation is not permanent because it not
right. Yeah. Well, Maybe he didn't get the prophecy. I don't know. Maybe he didn't get it. Maybe he was telling him that he could get it, right? I don't know. Good question.
There's a note here, it says, the passage continues explaining how Samuel's prophecy came to fruition. Because Shaul prophesied, and everyone who knew him previously were amazed at the consummation of his Christianity.
Right.
So he did prophesy.
Okay.
But he didn't continue.
I guess he lost it. There are a number of levels among the prophets. Just with regard to wisdom, one sage is greater than his calling. So too, with regard to prophecy, one prophet is greater than another. They all, however, share certain commonalities. They receive prophetic visions only in a visionary dream, or during the day after slumber has overtaken them. As it states, and I make myself known to him in a vision, and I speak to him in a dream. When any of them prophesy, their limbs tremble, their physical powers become weak. They lose control of their senses, and thus their minds are free to comprehend what they see. As it states concerning Abraham, and a great dark dread fell over him. Similarly, Daniel, my appearance was horribly changed, and I retained no strength. When a prophet is informed of a message in a vision, it is granted to him in a metaphoric imagery. Immediately, the interpretation of the imagery is imprinted upon his heart, and he knows its meaning. For example, the ladder with the angels ascending and descending and visioning by the patriarch Jacob, Yaakov, was an allegory for the empires and their subjugation of his descendants. Similarly, the creatures Ezekiel saw, the boiling pot and the rod and the almond tree envisioned by Jeremiah, the scroll Ezekiel saw, and the measure of Zechariah, were all prophetic, or rather metaphoric, images. Similarly, some of the prophets would relate the allegory and its explanation. Others would relate only the explanation. At times they would relate only the imagery without explaining it. It is, as can be seen in some of the prophecies of Ezekiel and Zechariah, right? It was just the imagery, not any explanation. All of the prophecies came in the form of metaphoric imagery and allegories. All the prophets do not prophesy whenever they desire. Instead, they must concentrate their attention upon spiritual concepts and seclude themselves, waiting in a happy, joyous mood. You have to be joyous, as we said, right? We've been learning in Tanya. Because prophecy can not rest upon a person when he is sad or languid, but only when he is happy. Right? Only simcha, joy. Therefore, the prophets, the disciples would always have a harp, a drum, a flute, and a lyre before them when they were seeking prophecy. This was meant by the expression. They were prophesying, following the path of the prophecy until they would actually prophesy. As one might say, so and so aspires to greatness. Yeah. Yeah. Those who aspire for prophecy are called disciples of the prophets. Even though they concentrate their attention, it's possible that the divine presence will rest upon them, and it is possible that they will not, and it will not rest upon them. Yes or no? Might be. All the statements made above describe the path of prophecy of all the early and later prophets, with the exception of Moses, Moshe Rabbeinu, our teacher, whose today is his birthday and his day of passing. Zayin Adar, the master of all prophets. What is the difference between Moshe, his prophecy, and that of all the other prophets? Divine insight is bestowed upon all the other prophets in a dream or a vision. Moshe, our teacher, would prophesy while awake and standing. As when Moshe came to the tent of meeting to speak to him, to God, he heard a voice speaking to him. Divine insight is bestowed upon all of the prophets through the medium of an angel. Therefore, they would perceive only metaphoric imagery and allegories Moshe, our teacher, would prophesy without medium of an angel. It says, mouth to mouth, I speak to him. And further, God spoke to Moshe face to face. He gazes upon the image of God. There are no metaphors. Rather, he would perceive the matter in its fullness without metaphor or allegory. The Torah testifies concerning him. I speak to him manifestly without allegory. His appreciation of the prophecy would not be through metaphor, but through open revelation, appreciating the matter in its fullness. Oh, huh? Yeah.
Hashem said that you cannot see my face and live. So how did he prophesy to Moses face to face?
Yeah, I was also wondering what that means. Let's see if it brings something here. So face to face just means direct communication. I think that's all it means, as opposed to through allegory, right?
Okay.
That's what it means.
Okay.
Right. As opposed to the prophets that we're seeing is through allegory, and all the other prophets are overawed, terrified, and confounded by the revelations they experience. But Moshe, our teacher, would not respond in this manner. As it relates, God spoke to Moshe as a man speaks to a friend. Just as a person will not be awestruck from hearing his friend's words, so too Moshe's mental power was sufficient to comprehend the words of prophecy while he was standing in a composed state. All the other prophets cannot prophesy. Whenever they desired, Moshe, our teacher, was different. Whenever he desired, the Holy Spirit would envelop him and prophecy would rest upon him. He did not have to concentrate his attention to prepare himself for prophecy because his mind was always concentrated, prepared, and ready to appreciate spiritual truth as the angels are. Therefore, he would prophesy at all times, as it says, stand and hear what God will command you. He was promised by this by God, as is implied by the verse, go and tell him, return to the tents, but you stand here together with me. This should be interpreted to mean when prophecy departs from all other prophets, they return to their tents. They need the needs of their body like other people. Therefore, they do not separate themselves from the wise. Moshe, our teacher, never returned to his original tent. Therefore, he separated himself from women and everything of that nature forever. Because God would speak to him at any moment, so he couldn't be intimate. He is bound, right? That was unique about him. He has bound his mind to the eternal rock accordingly. The glory never left him. The flesh of the countenance shone on him, for he became holy like angels. There is a possibility that a prophet will experience prophecy for his own sake alone, meaning to broaden his outlook and to increase his knowledge, allowing him to know more about the lofty concepts than he knew before. It's also possible that he was sent to one of the nations of the world or to the inhabitants of a particular city or a kingdom to prepare them to inform them that they should what they should do or prevent them from continuing to do evil while while they were doing. When he is sent on such a mission, he is given a sign or a wonder to perform so that people will know that God has truly sent him. Not everyone who performs signs and wonders should be accepted as a prophet. Only a person who is known to be fit for prophecy beforehand, his wisdom and his good deeds surpass those of all of his contemporaries. If he follows the path of prophecy in holiness, separating himself from worldly matters, and afterwards performs signs and wonders, and states that he is sent by God, it's a mitzvah to listen to him, as it says, listen to him. Now, we have to know that he's a righteous person beforehand. Bilam also had prophecy, but he was a wicked person, so we're not going to listen to him. right? We're not going to listen to it. But Moshe and other holy people, we see that they're holy people. So now when they do something that shows a prophetic vision, and they say that they have a prophecy that they have to share with us, we have to listen to it. Yeah. It is possible that a person will perform a sign and wonder even if he is not a prophet. Rather, the wonder will have another cause behind it. It is nevertheless a mitzvah to listen to him. Since he is a wise man of stature and fit for prophecy, we accept his prophecy as true. This is the nature of the Torah's commandment to heed a prophet, because he is a fitting person. To give an example of a parallel, we are commanded to render a legal judgment based on testimony of two witnesses, even though they may testify falsely, since we know them to be acceptable as witness, we presume that they are telling the truth. Considering these matters in light, it states the hidden matters are for God and our Lord, but whatever is revealed is for us and our children. And yeah, man sees what is revealed to the eyes, but God sees into the heart. Let's just do from chapter 8, the first one. The Jews do not believe in Moshe, our teacher, because of the wonders that he performed. For whenever anyone's belief is based on wonders, he has misgivings, because it is possible to perform a wonder through magic and sorcery. All the wonders performed by Moshe in the desert were not intended to serve as proof of the legitimacy of his prophecy, but rather he performed for a purpose. It was necessary to drown the Egyptians and to split the sea and sink them in it. We needed food and provided it from manna from heaven. We were thirsty, so we split a rock, providing water. Curious company mutinied against Moshe, so the earth swallowed them. The same applies to other wonders. So what is the source of belief in Moshe? The revelation of Mount Sinai. Our eyes saw and not strangers. Our ears heard and not another. There was fire, thunder, and lightning. We entered the thick of the clouds. The voice spoke to him, and we heard, Moshe, Moshe, go tell them the following. As we heard God speaking to Moshe after God spoke to us, right? We heard that he spoke to Moshe, come, and therefore we saw ourselves and heard ourselves. Moshe going to go and tell them the following. Thus, right face to face, God spoke with you. And it states that God did not make this covenant with our fathers, but with us, who are all here alive today. How is it known that the revelation of Mount Sinai alone is a proof of the truth of Moshe's prophecy that leaves no apprehension? So the verse says, behold, I will come to you in a thick cloud, so that people will hear me speaking to you, so they will believe in you forever. It appears that before this happened, they did not believe in him with a faith that couldn't last forever because of a faith that allowed for suspicions and doubts. All right.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Yeah,
Hope
amazing.
you feel better.
Thank you. Okay, God bless you. Good